It doesn't matter where you come from in terms of your name. It will only matter in terms of the work you do.
I'm not looking at scoring political brownie points. So I think when society goes through such times where there's polarization, these are the times when the best works of art actually blossom.
Firstly, congratulations. The film's really getting great reviews. Zahan, when you debut with a film like that, it really gives you the chance to show your mettle as an actor, right? But it's definitely an extremely emotionally heavy film. To portray such a character in your first film, how was that for you?
It was an incredible opportunity, but also a responsibility, because it's a true story. It's based on an incident, and the story of Faraz and the life that he lived, and what the exploration was. What would make a boy like this do something like that? There is this incident. There is the story of this boy, and we're looking for someone to play this part, and it's not going to be a formula film. It was an opportunity to learn, to be a part of his process, to understand how he minds, a character.
What was your first day on the sets like, Zahan?
Oh, I was very nervous. I was very, very nervous. It was just such a build up to that point. We had our early discussions in 2019. By the time we finally had our first day of shoot, it was June of 21. It had been a long time coming, and luckily we had a lot of prep and research and workshopping, and so we felt like we'd done stuff, but we were still very nervous. And that was the one piece of advice that Hansal sir kept giving us, was that you've done it now. Now trust yourself. And like he just said, he empowers that trust and he lets you do it. And in the beginning, we're constantly looking at sir for reassurance and saying that, Pakka, okay, ho gaya, ek aur baar kare, should we do it again? I think we can do it better, I think we can do it better. And he would say, no, don't, just because you want to feel like you've worked hard, you're saying this, but trust me, you've done it, okay, let's move on.
Film like Faraz, which is of course an extremely sensitive film. When you're telling a story like this, considering today's political landscape, one has to use a very sensitive lens, which you have done. So how do you as a director, when making a film on something like this, choose what you need to keep as a part of a film and what you need to omit?
I don't really choose my subjects on the basis of how safe they are, either politically or in terms of box office or any. Those things don't come into play when I'm choosing my subjects. Every film that I've made, it has the potential to stir up the wrong kind of, a little bit of, it's a tightrope walk. The moment it tips over to the right, it will tick off some boxes on the left. If it tips to the left, it will tick off some boxes on the right. For me, it is how do I instinctively see it? How does it emerge out of my own value systems? How honest am I to the story that is being told? And I just maintain my integrity to the story. I maintain my integrity towards the character's journey, and I stick to that. I'm not looking at scoring political brownie points.
Sir, you mentioned that you walk an extremely tightrope. That was something that I would love to talk to you about. Someone like you in all your films, or also the series that you directed recently, Modern Love Mumbai, I noticed one thing, that was your direction is always extremely tight in the way it's never provocative. You don't deliver shock value to the audience forcefully saying, hey, listen, this is how I want you to feel watching this. How do you manage to always do that by desensationalizing an issue that someone could play it up?
There was one very critical review of Faraz. That person's complaint against my work is that I expect a lot from the audience. I've always believed that, it's a two-way dance. My films are that I present the story as an observer. I observe my own story. I observe my characters, and my films are an observation of an event, of a moment, and you as the audience then make it your own. I hate spoon feeding. I've done that. It's not my natural craft. Around 2008, 2009, I started watching a lot of Iranian films, and then I revisited all the masters, Shyam Benegal, Ketan Mehta. I saw their films and I said, what are they doing that we have stopped doing? And I think one thing that they always did, was that they did not present the story in a way that would force you to feel a particular way, become immersed in the journey. And I think that has been my attempt since now it's now 12 years since this uh, new me has started making films.
We just spoke about how you definitely don't make films for a political reaction, right? But today we do live in a society that is extremely sensitive, a very polarized society where people do get offended very quickly. Do you, as a director, feel that kind of hinders your process of filmmaking or telling a story like the way you think it's the best to say?
No, I don't think so. I think when society goes through such times where there's polarization, where you are under authoritarian rule, where there is this deep-rooted majoritarianism, uh, these are the times when the best works of art actually blossom. These are the times when the greatest songs are written, the greatest poetry, the greatest art comes out of this. So, as an artist, I think there can be no more challenging time and no more motivating time to tell the stories that we do.
Fact is that the leader of the country today had to come out and say, can you let the film industry be? He had to tell his people that stop commenting on the film industry, you have to let it be. Do you think it's too little, too late?
It's a bit late, but better late than never. I think that whole trend anyway, I never gave it that much importance. I thought it was it had nothing to do with films not working well. I think people in general have not been going to the theatres, and there is a need for theatre owners to review why people are not going to their theatres. There is an entire sector in the business that believes that it runs cinema, and that's the exhibition sector. The theatrical sector, they overprice their tickets. I've given you a film which is without an interval, yet you force an interval into the film because you want to sell popcorn. So they are in the business of selling popcorn and not really exhibiting cinema to the audience. They are not really interested in the audience for the film. They are interested in the audience that is going to buy F&B. Unfortunately, artists have become pawns in the hands of F&B managers. They are not cinema curators, and I think that is the reason cinema, one of the big reasons, different types of films do not work in the theatres, and they work on a curated platform. These platforms curate the films that they put on their platform. The films that AI decides what you might prefer. So there's genuine curation. That platform does not sell popcorn to you. I mean, the earlier theatre owners realized that they're killing the goose that's giving them the golden egg. The better it will be. Otherwise, this cinema, the collapse of cinema, theatre going audiences will mean the collapse of the cinema halls, and that is something nobody wants. I want Faraz to be seen in the cinema halls because it's a cinematic experience. But unfortunately, the men who run those cinema halls, the silver screens, are more lured by the green bucks.
I'm sure you're very well aware of the legacy that comes from your family. Coming into an industry with that, do you kind of feel the pressure to perform, or are you here saying, hey, listen, I'm going to pave my own path, but I'm aware of my legacy?
Exactly. I am aware of it. I try not to look at it as a pressure. I try and look at it as a source of inspiration. I know this is how I've been brought up, and this is what I've been taught, is that it doesn't matter where you come from in terms of your name. It will only matter in terms of the work you do, and you will earn your merit from that. So the only hope that I have is that if an opportunity can come my way, I should be ready for it. I should be well prepped for it. I have to do the due diligence of working on myself and my craft, and hope that I can deliver what the product needs, as in what the story needs. And I hope that I can continue to do that, put one step in front of the other.
When you come from a film family, right, do you think it's easier because you've seen the world around you growing up through the eyes of actors, right? So do you think the positives and the lows and the highs when someone in your family's gone through it. You've seen that. Do you think that comes as a little bit of an advantage for you because you've seen it?
My father was an ad filmmaker, my mother is a photographer. My grandfather was retired when I was born, around the same time. So I wasn't in an environment that talked about acting and stardom, but I was in an environment that talked about culture and the arts in general. And I saw some of the cousins and I've seen some of the trappings of that stardom, but from a little bit more distant place, because my grandfather again wasn't working. All the advice I've ever been given, and even Hansal sir says the same thing, is that this trade is a very long and complicated one. So successes come, failures come. Don't let it get you down, and don't let it get to your head. You know, it sounds cliched now, but it holds true. So the joy is doing the work. The passion is knowing that, like Hansal sir said, it's a democratic, collaborative environment. We're so lucky that we can participate alongside other people who are as dedicated, as passionate, and are lending something unique to this project or this story.
My last question to you, what's the one piece of advice that you've been given by anybody? It can be a friend, it can be a family member, that's really stuck with you.
I think it's something that Steve Jobs might have said, but it was just stay hungry and stay curious.
So to curiosity and staying hungry.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much, both of you.
Thank you.
Thank
We
you
hope
so
so.
much.
We hope
Thanks,
so.
Anand.
Thank you.